Ladies and gentlemen of the media, welcome to the Orlando Pirates Media Open Day press conference ahead of our next league match against Chippa United, and the first match with the resumption of the league after the FIFA break we've just had. I will start with the opening question to the coach, and prior to doing that, let me just introduce everybody on our panel. We've got our head coach, Coach Rhulani, as well as Captain Happy Jele, Timbinkosi Lodge, and Spenjo. Welcome, gentlemen. Just a reminder for everyone, as I've already mentioned, please ensure that your cell phones are on silent mode or flight mode if you're using them as recording devices. And as per norm, if you have any question, please by a show of hand, identify yourself as well as the media company you represent prior to asking your question. Tabang behave, stop making player stuff. We're working now. Coach, I think the opening question, we just came back from a FIFA break. How are things going ahead of our first match? The results weren't going as would have liked them to. We're trying to get wins. So what's been the approach to the FIFA break? What have you been doing in terms of just trying to rectify our challenges?
First is just to greet the members of the media. Good afternoon to everybody. I think it came at the right time. I think we spoke about it prior to it coming, and I mean the FIFA break itself. And ours was just to focus on trying to work on some tactical issues that we found with regards to our game model and our approach to try and solve particularly the offensive patterns and the schemes that we work on to improve the chance creation percentages, but also to work psychologically on the players, because it's important to remind them of who they are, what they represent, and the club that they are part of. So it was to try to bring back the confidence, and I think you can see for yourselves the training today with this type of sessions that we've been having, sessions that more or less focus a lot more on group dynamics and improving the morale and the camaraderie within the squad, which is for us was also key, because the season is still very, very long, and despite the minor setback so early in the season, I think with the right spirit, and if we don't lose the confidence, and that was one of our major aims, we know that we can compete this season for the league title. I think Orlando Pirates is a club that values certain principles, and I try not to speak about myself a lot when you are in a position of leadership, particularly position of leadership at Orlando Pirates. The position of leadership at Orlando Pirates is like being in the army. Yours is to serve, and part to serving is to think less about yourself and put the team, put the supporters, put the institution first. You complain after, you ask questions after. Yours is to focus on the responsibilities that are at hand, and try to make sure that we win and we satisfy the supporters, because the expectations are high, and rightfully so. But at the same time, ours is to make sure that we manage the expectations by recreating the right environment that we used to have. And it's not about me. I've said this, and I think the members of the media know. I could have been at Bafana, didn't go. I had job offers to go somewhere else to be head coach, didn't go, for Pirates. So if we speak about loyalty and about servantship, then the actions themselves should should speak. You know, it's not for me to speak about looking over my shoulder or whatever, but it's just to continue to serve and help this great institution get back to where it belongs.
Sazi from Tiso to coach and Spe, it's a similar question. Spe, how challenging it's been for you to integrate yourself into this team, and how confident are you to win the starting lineup more permanently? And to coach Rhulani, same thing. How challenging it's been for you to bring in the new players into the starting lineup and be regulars? Thanks.
Greetings to you all, media people. It is very challenging from the pre-season because normally it's a big team. You have no time to rest here. You have no time to relax. You know. So for me, coming from where I come from, Maritzburg United, coming here, I've learned something, which is if you take another step up, it demands the next of you. So which means a coach here, so I had to put another effort from what I had. So basically now we are gelling together and getting there.
Yeah, integrating the new players, not the easiest, but not very hard as well, because they come with the right sort of profile. Individually, when you look at them, they all suit the game model of Orlando Pirates. But of course, there's a period of adaptation that needs to take place. The environment is slightly different for all of them. I mean, we've got players that came from Bloemfontein Celtics, players that came from Maritzburg. So the transition is there, and the adaptation to the demands of the profile of the club is huge for them. So we've got to always try to support them. But also from a tactical perspective, they come from teams that played in different game models. Maritzburg play very different to how Orlando Pirates play. Bloemfontein Celtics play very different to how Orlando Pirates play. So there's been that adaptation process, and we've had to be patient with them, but at the same time to try to guide them towards making sure that they don't lose their individual qualities while still trying to maintain their strengths and weaknesses within our game model. So it's been good because they are humble boys, they are honest boys, and they are hardworking, and it's always a pleasure to work with players that have those sort of qualities.
Manisha from NFL. Coach, the last time you spoke after the game, you said you were going to work on mental issues because that seemed to be more of the problem. Many of us noticed I don't know whether it's new or you've always done it, where you actually award certain players a trophy at the end. Is it one of the things that you've been working on, maybe just to give them that feeling of what it feels like to actually win a trophy, so that they can also actually go on and seek real trophies which are still out there?
Yeah, but they've just come from the group has just come from a very good win against Kaizer Chiefs in the Carling Black Label Cup, and lifting trophies is addictive. You know, is a feeling that you get, because I don't want to get into the biological elements of endorphins and which hormones are released when you achieve certain success. But because of that sort of feeling, you then are addicted and you want more of that. And the same thing happens with technology and the addiction that society faces with smartphones. Is the same thing that happens to footballers or sportsmen when they win, and that becomes addictive. But we've tried to work on that, not just by talking about it and showing videos on it and looking at international trends, because we work a lot on that aspect, but also on the pitch to try to improve the competitiveness of our training sessions. And at the same time to also make players understand that the product is the result of the process. So the lifting of the trophy is not just the lifting of the trophy. That's the byproduct. That's at the end. The most important thing is the process. And the process is what we are going through at the moment, but you've got to try and take them through those stages, simulate these sort of environments so that they get comfortable in difficult environments and in environments where they know that they've got to produce results. But once you've simulated them and they find comfort in that, it becomes a little bit easier for them to adapt to those situations during game time.
Minian Tlatlhela from Newsroom Africa. Just to build on that, Coach, was it a change of approach in terms of communication, maybe using language differently, or maybe allowing the players to express themselves more and trying to, as you say, get into that mental state, to break into their mental mind? Was it change of patterns maybe that with the FIFA break, did it give you an opportunity to change things a little bit and try to, to be one with them and get into their mental state?
Unfortunately, I know them very well and they know me very well. We haven't changed much because I think the game model was built by all of us. We all contributed to how Pirates have played over the last couple of seasons, and not much has changed. Just to remind them of who they are, what they are, and the qualities that they possess. And I think that's what we've tried to do. We've tried to also remind them of certain patterns of play. Try to work on new ideas, particularly with, like I said, within our offensive scheme, because we've stabilized the ship. We've kept 2 clean sheets. Last season was a big problem for us with clean sheets, and already we've kept 2 clean sheets in the last 3 matches. And ours, we know that we could have won all 3 of the games. We know we could have won. We dominated. I mean, against Golden Arrows, 71% ball possession. So the trajectory, as I said last time, is upward, and it's positive. And we believe that if we continue to work hard, we will get where we deserve to be, because where we are at the moment is not a reflection of the quality that we possess in the squad, and we know that. So we don't change much. It's just a consciousness to come to training and be consciously aware of who we are and what we are about.
One from ENC. The coach just answered the question that I was going to, just a little bit. But to the captain, Happy, I mean, looking at how the team finished last season, finished very strong, and the expectations were obviously high. I mean, looking at the team, I think most of the players are the players from last season. You mentioned the coach in terms of you guys playing very well, but is it a mental thing from the players? Do you understand the philosophy that Coach Rhulani wants you to understand?
Good afternoon, guys. To answer you, I think the past season we did well, and at this stage, it's one of the phases that we need to go back and be on the drawing board. It's to rectify some of the mistakes that we've been done. So at this point in time, this past 2 weeks, we've been working on that, and all of the guys are prepared now. They know how to put more effort. They know where we did our mistake. So yeah, like the coach said, we dominate some of the games, but we didn't get results. So it's some of the things that we need to work on. So, and we did that. So we'll see this coming next game.
What is it like, taking on that responsibility of, setting the standard for young coaches? And I mean, surely if you do well, then other clubs would, you'd almost force their hands in terms of giving opportunities to young up-and-coming South African coaches.
Yeah, you see, the reality is, and I don't want to. It's difficult because it's a huge responsibility, but it goes beyond football, and I've spoken about this so many times. Football is a microscopic reflection of society. And if you look at society as a whole, how many young leaders are put into top leadership positions? We can go into the business space, we can go into the political space, we can go into any form of leadership roles. Just a couple of days ago, Africa as a continent paid its last respects to former Zimbabwean President Mr. Mugabe at 95. But 5 years ago, he was still the president of Zimbabwe. And that is reality. The reality is that we are not a nation that is or has accepted that there is leadership potential in its youth. And unfortunately, because of that, and the late Nelson Mandela used to say that a nation that doesn't take care of its youth is doomed. But the youth also have a responsibility that when given roles of leadership, they do not disappoint and fumble. And unfortunately, like you've just said, you can call it being a guinea pig, you can call it being a trailblazer, because there's two ways to look at it. You can be the sacrificial lamb, or you can be the one that goes and says, there's a forest here, but there's no trail. So I walk in and I create a trail so that others may follow. It's a norm in most European, top European football countries. Mourinho struggled a little bit. Pep Guardiola started at Barca, coming from Barca B. How young was Pep Guardiola? And if you read his book, and there's an abstract that comes out when he was sitting in his office analyzing the first 3 games, and I think he had lost 2 and drawn 1 in his first stint at Barca. And Iniesta walked into his office and said, "Mister, don't change anything. Continue to believe in the way you work, and things will come right." And Mourinho and Pep today sit as having won more trophies than any other coach, but they were given opportunities at young ages. The excuse society makes is young people are not experienced enough. But where do young people gain the experience if they're not given the opportunities? I'm more experienced now than I was a month ago. I believe that I'm stronger, I'm wiser, and I'll still be stronger and wiser with more experience, with more games, with more leadership, and it doesn't end here. But platforms need to be created, and I don't call Julian Nagelsmann, for an example, Jurgen Klopp and Mainz, for an example. These are coaches, Roger Schmidt, who was at Leverkusen. These are coaches that we call technocrats. They don't belong to the norm. They don't belong to the norm. Jose Mourinho doesn't belong to the norm. He's an abnormal case study because he didn't play professional football, started coaching at a young age. So unfortunately, when you have that, it's very difficult because you also don't have a reputation to fall back on. There's no name prior to you having served or in whatever capacity. Sometimes when you play professional football, it's a little bit easier because when you coach and things don't go as well as you probably would like them to, you've got your name still and your reputation as a footballer to fall back on. And when you're an alien, and I consider myself an alien because I don't belong to the norm, it's abnormal that you find a coach like myself. It's abnormal in South Africa. It's abnormal to find a Mourinho and Arsene Wenger didn't get to the highest level, but gets opportunities to coach. But when you have that, again, like I say to you, I always refer to religious spaces when I want to find comfort. I say to myself, to whom much is given, much is expected. And when you're an alien, you must know that there's a lot that's been given to you because it's not normal for you to get those blessings and those privileges. But the reality is it comes with huge, huge responsibility and lots of expectations. And unfortunately, you carry the responsibility of carrying so many other thousands of young coaches, up and coming young coaches or technocrats behind you that are saying, create this trail so that we can also maneuver our way through this forest. And that's what we try to do.